Nerd Skool is a member of the Queen City Podcast Network, powered by Ortho Carolina. Now offering video visits so you can take control of your orthopedic care from the comfort of your home. Schedule online at orthocarolina.com. Ortho Carolina, you improve.
Hey, fellows. It's the first night of another season.
Nerds roll. Nerds roll.
Oh, my glasses are broken.
And this will begin season 2 of Nerd Skool.
Welcome back to season 2, Nerd High. Glad to have you.
It's gonna be crazy stunts. We're gonna there's gonna be stunts.
Joe's gonna
fireworks.
bring more penis jokes.
There's a lot of penis stuff.
I am a super nerd.
The Nerd Skool Podcast.
Starring Andy,
Star Spangled Band with a plan.
Maybe I'll try to do a cartwheel.
TBJ,
Welcome. Congratulations. You did dirt. Ta-da. I ain't got no shame. All my exes can tune in. We can have an episode where I compare them to all the Marvel villains. We can do that.
Art Star,
I don't love Wiener. I'm just trying to make money.
Lord Artemis Prime rises.
Yeah, my real name is Joe. Did I ever tell you about the time I hung out with DMC at Mertz?
The Nerd Skool Podcast.
Nerd School's back. Nerd School's back. We had an accidental hiatus.
Was it accidental?
Well, we
had a
did it
real
together.
life
Did we
busy-ish.
trip and fall into a hiatus?
We just were busy.
Busy?
Yep.
These bills.
Busy,
These bills got to
busy,
get
busy.
paid.
Bills
No
gotta
life
get
gets in the
paid.
way.
Right?
You can help us by sending us $10 million, and we won't take
joining
any
our
more breaks.
Patreon.
Yeah. Or joining. Yeah, we have a Patreon. I think I made one. Did I
You
make
did. We have
We
a
have one.
Patreon.
Yeah.
Sir, I need you to know that.
Yeah.
We-
So send us $10 million,
What if,
and we
what
will
if there
not
was
take
already
any breaks.
$10 million in there? You just
Right.
didn't know.
Wait. We're not taking any breaks. We're going to be podcasting 24/7.
Would
no,
you make
'cause
that
then Art
commitment
would
for
end
$10
up
million?
murdered. No, because Art and I can't be in the same space continually.
What
We
good
will
is $10
move
million if you can't ever leave the room?
$10 million a month,
I
and
was
we
gonna
will
say,
move in together.
How was I going to end up married? Like, what's going to happen?
Are you suggesting like the
I
Nerd
can't
School
put that
Big
out
Brother
on
house?
the podcast.
Well,
But you've already said I was going to be murdered.
TBJ jumped right to $10 million. We're moving in together, and you guys are sharing a room.
And
That's-
then
no,
she's
we
gonna
don't have to share a
murder
room
me.
if we were just in a house together 24 hours a day, every day.
Well, I don't know where
The
that came from. I
logical
just said
conclusion is
if you pay us, we can quit our jobs.
No,
No, you
said
said-
we will take no breaks
Yep.
ever.
that's
Well,
what
we
you
won't take any
said.
breaks. Oh, yeah. And so
won't
in your
take-
mind, that means 100 like 24/7 podcasts.
You just have us on the mics.
That's not a bad idea.
It is a bad idea.
But
You have
can
a
I-
microphone strapped, so you don't have to be with Art. It's just everywhere you go. Like when you're in the bathroom, you're
I
mic'd
don't
up.
think that's a different kind of podcast.
Yeah.
that's
I
an
bet that
OnlyFans,
exists.
not a Patreon.
Does that exist already? A 24-hour podcast?
I bet
sure
you
it does.
can find it somewhere.
Somebody's recording.
Isn't
their-
it like that Big Brother show where they just
No, I
record
think there
everybody?
is
That's
somebody who does like 24-hour stints on recordings.
Like you hear them coughing and sleeping.
Well, I mean, some people do shit like they will just sit there and put their camera on and they'll lay down, fall asleep.
Yeah.
People in there giving them hearts and donating and all that doing
Yeah.
and sleeping and you know.
Gamers do that. They
Yeah,
stream, and people are just like watching them
I never
live.
understood the gamer thing.
I
Very
mean, if you want to
voyeuristic.
watch me live, that's cool. Pay me so I can retire.
I think the thing, every time I hear the word gamer, I always think of the chair, like the easy chair they make that's also a toilet.
Oh,
So you don't ever have to leave the chair. You can
Well,
keep-
that's
Well,
the
I
little meme
suggested-
with everyone getting switches and they're like, oh, now I can play video games while I'm taking a shit.
I suggested they put those into the theaters. That way,
No.
the bathroom breaks. You don't have to take any intermissions.
That's a
Everybody-
lifestyle.
Everyone just
I
like
would not
flushes
want to be
during the
part
movie.
of. Let's just put that out there.
Yeah,
Tiffany
I
says
think
no.
movie theaters where everyone's sitting on a toilet is probably not going to catch on.
No.
At least
Anyway, we're here to talk about
I
Iron
was
Man
going to
3.
say, I was trying to wave it out. Like, speaking of not catching on,
No.
speaking of cans, how about the tin can that Tony Stark wears all the time?
yes.
Speaking of
toilets,
not to
All right, so
All
this
right.
is the beginning of Phase 2 of the Marvel Cinematic
yes, we
Universe.
finally
Yes.
entered Phase 2. It's been a while.
This is right after the finale of Phase 1, which is the first Avengers film,
right,
in which aliens attack New York.
which they weaved into the storyline great with Tony's PTSD.
Yeah, they did. It was great. Like it was because of Avengers, and I had to. And you guys be proud of me, maybe, or just think I'm an idiot, or reinforce your beliefs I'm an idiot. But I had to go. I rewatched Avengers before I watched Iron Man 3.
That's
to get
smart
back
for
since
you.
we watched so much other crap in between, and What If throws me off, puts me in a. And I watched Black Widow a few days ago, so that I wasn't ready for that. Obviously, I can't figure out where the hell that fits in.
That's fine. We'll talk. We'll have time.
We'll get to that again later. But I shouldn't be watching this. I like the action, so I just kind of half watched it.
It's okay.
You still should have just watched it. Why would you half watch it?
Well, I half watched it because I didn't invest my brain.
Well, you already
That's
know.
what-
Anytime he
well,
watches a movie, the first go
but here's
around
the
is
thing.
him half watching
Like,
it.
I was very confused where it fits in. I was
in
like,
your
what?
burgeoning nerddom,
Yeah.
you shouldn't be half watching anything that's MCU related. You should
Well,
be
I had
watching
to
it.
half watch it because I knew I would get too invested, then it would confuse me to this timeline if I
Would
got
it?
into that. Yeah.
Yes, you act like we
It's-
don't know Joe.
Because
You
we're
keep saying,
missing a
"Would
lot
it?"
of stuff from wherever
Yes.
whatever that takes place. Black Widow.
Black Widow is mostly standalone.
Yeah.
Most of
Mostly,
that stuff is
but there's
stuff
some
that hasn't
stuff.
been
But
referred
it's
to.
still
There's
Joe,
some
and
Clint
he would
stuff, and there's
overthink
some-
the whole thing.
Yeah, that was it. I was
His
thinking,
brain would go.
So your mind will probably be super fucked when Hawkeye come out.
and I also got kind of screwed up because I recently watched Scarlett Johansson and Conan O'Brien when she was a child. She played a spelling bee, a girl at a spelling bee, and then she spells everything wrong. And Andy Richter makes fun of her. So it was like the first season of Conan O'Brien. She was, and so that messed up the timeline for me.
You
so.
messed up because you saw Scarlett Johansson not
As
being
a
Black
child,
Widow
yeah.
because it wasn't
Yeah,
the
right.
Joe
Really
verse.
I was like, where does that fit into the Joe
Fred,
verse?
you went to the Joe verse?
Because he's trying to fit in the Joe verse. I will say it was enjoyable having you watch Iron Man 3 in our group chat because you just were like, whoa, what?
Yes.
Whoa. And so
Well,
I
that's
kept
what's on
reading
the Marco
text
Polo. That's what you're
going,
missing out on the Marco Polo.
I'm still not joining you guys on Marco Polo.
That's a lot. You get a live reaction of me shirtless.
Yeah, no, I'm okay
Right.
with the
And
I'm okay
a
with the
lot of-
text. We don't need any more.
A lot of shirtless. All of us are shirtless on there.
Yeah, that's not selling it to the general listeners. The team of Nerd School has a Marco Polo where the three males are on there together.
Yeah, and if you join our
TBJ is
Patreon, we'll
not.
put our
There's a
Marco
regular
Polo.
lemon party.
Yeah.
You'll see us all shirtless
It's
except
not
TBJ.
a lemon party.
TBJ
and we
is
are
not on the
all
Marco
shirtless.
Polo.
Well, Art and I have our own lemon party chain.
Yeah,
of
that's
Marco
a
Polo.
problem.
I'm not aware of that.
This is a problem.
I'm
So,
not a part
yeah.
of the lemon party.
It
I'm
was
strictly
nice.
a lime
Fly.
party guy.
Anyway, Iron Man 3 was awesome. Yeah, so
Yeah, it
as
was
TBJ
great
was saying,
watching
I was
it, listening to you.
I was
watch
texting
it.
these guys as I couldn't believe I had to stop it because I know I saw this at some point, but I don't remember it being this many twists and turns because I really forgot all about how Mandarin wasn't Mandarin and all that, and then I was surprised again. I was like, wait a minute, is this a double cross? Like he's gonna be Mandarin at the end? Even when I watched the one shot afterwards, I thought, oh, they're gonna reveal he actually is Mandarin, and that was my big whole question to you guys was, are nerds mad because Mandarin's supposed to be a real thing and they made it a fake thing, but the one shot kind of makes it, oh, it is a thing.
At
right?
the time, nerds were pissed.
Right.
I mean, the wrong kind of nerds are pissed. Like, there is a
wrong
divide
kind.
between, like, oh, I love that twist. I didn't see that coming. And I see too much stuff coming because I know all the comics.
Right.
So this was a way to surprise nerds who are into things.
Right.
But some nerds don't like surprises. They want to see the direct translation of the character.
They want it to be exactly like the comics.
Yeah.
And that's,
Not what
yeah.
movies do, though.
Sure.
Right. I mean, on one hand, there is precious little Asian representation at this point. So Mandarin is like a
Right.
Chinese character that turns out to not be. I was going to look up Ben Kingsley's ethnicity, so cause I know he played Gandhi, but I don't know if that's...
I actually recently looked him up because I think when Art Star was on American Timeline, somehow we talked about Gandhi or something, and he had mentioned, were people upset? Why is nobody upset that Ben Kingsley played Gandhi? And
People
cultural
are upset. It's
appropriation.
not the people you would listen to.
Well, I looked it up afterwards, and I said, "Oh, people probably are upset." But I recently looked it up because I was like, "Oh, never did check." But he is. Gandhi would have made sense because he does have, I think, some Indian descent. Is what I
Yeah,
remember.
here's the trick, though.
But Chinese.
I'm still going to go back to the Gandhi thing because he has some descent. Doesn't mean a white man of English descent should have been a first
I don't
choice.
think he's white. I think you
And
think
actually,
he's white,
Ben
but he's
King-
not.
I think it's King. I think that's like his.
That's why I found he
Hollywood
wasn't
name.
white. Yeah,
I don't think he
I
is.
swear I looked him up. He's not
Let's
a white
look.
guy.
He is a white guy.
Well, he certainly passes.
Yes, I guess.
Yeah,
he does.
he is Anglo-Indian,
Anglo-Indian.
so he is white and Indian.
Oh,
Let's
but
see.
he doesn't have any Asian. But then I looked up Mandarin, and Mandarin is only half Chinese. The character, according to Wikipedia. So, not to say that.
See, that's the thing about like the nerds getting pissed that the Mandarin wasn't the Mandarin. I think in part is that Ben Kingsley is a great actor, and he sold that part at
Yeah,
the beginning.
it was
when
For
he's
Mandarin.
Yeah.
You'll never see me coming.
But I say,
Ooh, that's.
It was
And then when
played
he
the role
turns
well.
into a joke, then it's like that. I can see like the rug being pulled out from under, but at the same time, it's the Mandarin. Nobody is that invested in the Mandarin, really.
Okay.
Right.
He
well,
was-
maybe there are.
I mean, he's a big Iron Man villain, but like especially at
And
the
even
time
in
of
the
this,
comics, like he looked menacing. So he,
Yeah.
Ben sold the menacing part.
Well, in the
Right.
comics, let me just ask this because I mean, Mandarin's been around forever, right? Since the
60s probably. So,
so
he's
was he like a total character, racist character, a Chinese
kinda.
villain?
I
type of
mean,
thing?
think.
let's be real. Was anything in the 60s created
not racist. Yeah,
not
was anything
racist,
not racist,
if
yeah.
it wasn't a white person? Honesty moment, guys.
Black Panther.
But he was.
But he was in the 60s,
He
was
was
he?
intentionally not
Yeah,
right.
right.
Everything
He was
outside
made
of that
to like.
fed into stereotypes.
All right.
Yeah, stereotypes are certainly there. And then,
Oh gosh,
think-
yeah. I just looked up Mandarin '60s drawing, and yeah, he totally looks like a.
yeah, it's
caricature of-
the what they call it.
They do those-
the yellow scare or something like that. There was a name for it.
Oh, look! I just looked at Ben Kingsley. Sorry, I'm
But I mean,
taking
it's
it
not
back.
as bad.
Yeah,
as,
you get. Yeah, he's totally
I'm hella
not.
surprised.
Yeah, I was too. I remember thinking that too when Art brought that up on American Timelines, and I looked at it. I was like, oh, I should have looked this up then.
He's
and I
such
was,
an English standard. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go back to.
I'm just glad
I
somebody
just
else
had
felt
to-
the same. Like that's
No,
what I did too. I
because
thought he
I
was
would have
white,
been
too.
outright upset too.
Yeah, that's why I
because
said
he's
why
very
aren't
white
people?
passing.
Yeah, that's why I said why aren't people mad? Art and I both said that. And
No, I just looked up his
and I
birth
looked him
date, and it is.
it's completely
Yeah.
So yeah,
This is culture. Sorry.
and I was
Katie.
totally wrong on that. And I never did apologize. So this is my apologize for that episode of American Timelines a million years ago. But no, so I stopped right away when he started talking like this. I was like, that doesn't sound like that doesn't have an accent. Like, what is that accent? Even sound like it's. I don't know. That's.
No, he's
Southern?
not trying to be Chinese. in
No,
this.
right. He clearly
Right.
wasn't. So that's when I paused. And I was like, I thought he was Mandarin supposed to be 100% Chinese, and I went right to the thing: is are people all mad because he's appropriating? And
Well,
that's when I
think
looked.
they kind of like in this. They kind of use the Mandarin as a title. Because
Yeah.
like again, you hear like Killian say like Killian went WandaVision like it was me all along. I'm the Mandarin. It's like, but he's not the Mandarin.
It was Killian. Oh,
And like
long.
Tony's-
That's good. But at the end, we found out he's playing the character anyway, so it turns out he can be whatever at this point.
what's
right?
interesting is
He's just an actor.
like Tony Stark at one point is trying to figure out who the Mandarin is once
Right.
he's all pissed. Like Mandarin, it's an ancient term that means advisor to the king.
Yeah,
is what it
right.
says.
right.
Although, which I mean, you haven't seen Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
No,
No.
because I don't.
It's okay. It's okay.
I want to.
Yeah,
He gets a little
It's-
redemption. I
yeah.
would think, right?
And I'm a
It
cheapskate,
definitely
that's what
picks up threads from Iron Man 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really?
Well,
It's not
just
a
to
spoiler
go
that
through
Ben
the
Kingsley is in it, right? That's not a spoiler for them.
yeah, Ben Kingsley is
The same
in
character,
Shang-Chi.
Travis.
Trevor Slattery.
Trevor Slattery.
Travis Slattery is in it.
Yeah. So it picks up from All Hail the King, the short, the Marvel one shot.
Let me ask about the Marvel one shot real quick.
Yeah.
All hail the king. Since it's kind of a, should we put that out? This is part of Iron. It's like part of the Iron Man.
It's basically,
3,
but
like-
it came out like I don't know, like a year later. or
that
something.
was going to be my question.
It was
Like,
basically
when
a
did that come out?
response, I think, to the nerd frustration that the Mandarin didn't get his actual characterization in there. I mean,
Okay,
I think
'cause
they,
it really explained it. Like I watched that last night because Art reminded me we were supposed to watch that for this, and I was like, oh, I audibly said to nobody, maybe my dog, oh, that answered a lot of questions for me. Actually, like it actually answered that whole thing. My big question was going to be, are nerds mad? This isn't what it's supposed to be, and then they were like, oh, that's how they kind of. I could see them fixing it.
right.
I love how they fix.
It's not even
everything.
really like a fix. It's just
An
nerds,
explanation.
calm down.
Yeah, nerds calm down.
Mandarin, we'll do a Mandarin character like the real thing. Like
Here's
it's sort of like a
something for
through
you.
line from in the first Iron Man. I think the people that captured Tony Stark in the first place were of the Ten Rings clan, like the Ten Rings organization,
Oh right.
which is Mandarin in the comics has 10 magical rings. Each ring has a different little power. Like there's
Yeah.
a freeze ray, there's a hypno ray, there's a heat ray, stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's where he gets all his power.
And so that's what we missed out on, right? We didn't get
Yeah.
that kind of cool stuff. All we
right,
got
they
is-
just implied that with the 10 Rings being the name of the organization.
yeah.
And then I guess Killian co-ops it and creates this figurehead to just be a guy that no one can find
Like you
because
said,
no one's
everyone
looking for
needs
an
a
idiot
face
drunk.
of a villain.
Yeah, This is the face.
Yeah.
He wants to operate in the background.
It was very cool how they did that, and I have a lot of stuff
Yeah,
about.
it's
about
such like it was very surprising to when watching that initially. Like, that's the Mandarin. That's what they're doing. And then,
it was such a twist when they reveal that, and that's why I really felt like this isn't like a typical. That's what I love about Marvel. How we said, I don't remember which movie we said it has that horror movie element in it when Hulk was chasing Black Widow.
That's
it's like
what you
it's like a horror movie in an action movie.
Yeah.
And this one did that too. There was those scenes that are like horror movie type stuff. Plus a thriller, like a twist.
There's
plot
more
twist
than
thriller,
just
whatever you
action,
call
is
it.
what you're saying.
Yeah, it's like
which
a real
is what
movie.
Marvel
Yeah.
does. If you
It's
were
amazing.
watching it for the first time,
Yeah.
like Joe, all you're waiting for is the fights. You've admitted
Yeah.
that.
Explosion.
That's all I
what
watch.
you want. Fight,
But if you really pay
explosion, done.
attention, there's like twists. It was like
But Marvel does plenty of work. They do plenty of character work.
Yeah.
That's why they are more successful.
the writers
than
are so good. And,
other people. Is because they really dive deep and are really good about building worlds.
Right. Well, what's the sixth sense where I see dead people? Like
Yeah.
how many twists that had?
Yeah.
This one had those twists. Like when they revealed that he's just an actor, I was like, oh yeah, I kind of remember that. And I was like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot that again. I was because I was writing all these questions about why is Mandarin this, why is Mandarin that. And I was like, oh, they just answered he's an actor. And then there was a couple other twists towards the end. We'll have to just go through it because I made notes.
Okay, let's
All right.
go
Notes
through
and
it.
questions.
Go,
Those
Those
are
are
go.
your notes.
Okay. So we start out in Bern, Switzerland, and right away we get Killian. You know, they go back to the the flashback to that New
Yeah.
Year's Eve party, which I love the whole thing. Like the whole thing's great. Like they reinforce it. Tony is saying now, as we talked about,
Yeah.
I'm a changed man. I'm not this guy anymore, but I was a jerk and I was an asshole.
Yeah, and he was a drunk, and
Yeah.
they've never come out and like said, "Oh, he was an alcoholic." But
Right.
every time
It
they
is
talk
very
about
clear.
his past, it's very
Yep.
clear that he's an alcoholic, and that used to be his defining characteristic for in nerd culture. Was like, "Oh, Iron Man, he's drunk." That's all he was before the MCU
drunk uncle
started.
out,
Like,
yeah.
oh, get Iron Man, let's make him drunk. It'll be funny because he's an
Yeah.
alcoholic.
Right.
And now that's not even in the top
Yeah.
10 of things people
Of
talk
the
about
things
Iron
he-
Man.
And he still doesn't touch things.
Well, yeah, I don't like things handed to me. My big question: who is the Killian guy? So, which I know obviously they've expanded him through the thing, but let's start with Killian. Is he were nerds happy with how he's portrayed? Is he a normal comic character? Is he
He's-
one of these different guys, or is he always the AIM guy?
Not really. I think I should have done a little more research on this.
And he wasn't. In the comics, he's not really connected to Angel. Like usually, when you think of AIM, a lot of times you think of Andy's best.
MODOK.
Yeah,
So MODOK is the
Advanced
AIM
Idea
guy.
Mechanics created MODOK, and then MODOK took over. Like
I just
MODOK
want
is
people
awesome.
to know that Andy did the little evil fingers as he said that.
and yet I'm the bad guy.
Well,
Well,
not that MODOK can really
'Cause
do
you
that
are.
because his hands are too.
Andy's been a big MODOK's always been Andy's favorite guy because Andy grew up looking like MODOK because Andy's head was always 10 times bigger than everything.
Yeah, and I've had
And he
to
always had that MODOK
design my
haircut
own
kinda.
hover chair to get
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
I desperately want to see an MCU MODOK. I don't know how they'll do it, but it'll be great. But Killian, I think, is from an Iron Man storyline called Extremis, which I didn't read. But
Art, did you read it?
I
You
did
look like
not.
you were.
I want to say it was
TVJ?
mid 2000s.
No, Iron Man was never my jam. We
Yeah, it's
talked
not
about
your
this.
jam. Yeah, right.
Yeah, Iron Man has always been a hard read for me. Like I don't get Iron Man comic books.
But has AIM always been the enemy of Iron Man? Like, is he a?
It's one of them. I think
Yeah.
MODOK might have started out as an Iron Man villain. It's science gone wrong. That's
Exactly.
Iron Man is trying to be science gone right. He used
Right.
to be science gone wrong,
Right.
and then he reformed, and
It's like
so
Pepper-
it kind of
Pepper says-
represents the dark side of what Iron Man does.
Oh, those are the other twists. Sorry, I'm remembering the other twist now. It's with
Okay.
that we'll get to her. To Maya Hansen. So that's what I
Oh,
asked
yeah.
you is Maya Hansen, is she from the comics?
I think she's from that storyline. Yes.
Okay, so she and Kill they're from so we don't know.
There was a storyline in the mid 2000s called Extremis, which I think was all about like
Rebuilding,
subcutaneous nanotech.
subcutaneous Funyuns.
Nanotech and Funyuns sound nothing alike. Joe.
Funyuns under the skin.
Subcutaneous Funyuns is
Yeah,
a
they don't heat up like that,
Stephen
so
Colbert
you're
joke
fine.
that it was a side effect to. One time he was listing side effects. Side
those
effects
are
include subcutaneous
Subcutaneous
Funyuns. Which I've never got that out of my head.
That's a great
my
one.
fantasy football team's name one year. Anyway, so the Maya Hansen, like that was what I remember. The twist with her, I was like, I kept pausing it, like, she's good. She's sitting with Pepper, and Pepper said, "Oh, feel bad. Don't feel bad. We used to be bad too. And then the twist when he comes to the door.
You
and
thought
then,
that was a twist?
No, the twist when she's like helping him, like she's helping.
I think they said that if you the very first 10 minutes, he says, and that's where I created 2 demons. That's literally
didn't
Tony
catch
Stark's
that.
line. I created 2 demons that night.
Oh, I didn't catch that. I
Yeah.
totally missed that. So then when I thought she's good in helping Tony, and then with Pepper, and then he shows up and he's like, no, I had to lure him here, And then she's bad, but then she turns good again when she threatens to kill herself. So like with her, that was twist, twist, twist.
Mm-hmm.
So those were more twists that I was.
Yeah.
That's when I was.
See,
like,
I
pausing
saw
and
the twist
texting you.
of her in the very end,
Yeah.
like realizing
That's what I'm talking about. At the
science has
end.
gone wrong. But the hotel wasn't a twist for me because I didn't trust her showing up in the first place.
Okay, I did.
Again, because I
I
remembered
did.
him saying I created 2 demons, and we hadn't seen her
That's smart
demon
of you.
self yet. I pay attention,
Well, you're very
Joe.
smart.
Well, in the Extremist series,
attention.
Well, I'm a dumb guy. You gotta remember, you
Killian
gotta
and
dumb.
Maya are both in that series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's her
They are.
technology. If we paid attention to the technology in the beginning, when Happy touches the plant, and what happens with the plant, it's the same thing that happens to the people when they can't handle it. So
When you
that's
said
what
happy.
you know.
I just thought of the follow the mullet. Follow the mullet guy when he's got the mullet at the beginning.
Side note: I went on a Jon Favreau rabbit hole after. Sometimes it hits me like, man, Jon Favreau, he does everything right in
Yeah,
Hollywood,
yeah.
and it's interesting. How cool is it that you just show up to play Happy sometimes, knowing you're
That he
executive
direct- yeah,
producing,
right.
you're doing all these things, but in the show you're just happy to be there to be, his
Happy to be happy.
straight man.
Yeah.
Everything
You're Tony
Kevin
Straight.
Smith
Like he
wants to
directed
be.
the first 2 Iron Man movies.
Yes.
He launched the MCU,
Yeah.
and now he just gets to sort of show up in his suit and
Yeah.
be, like coach Spider-Man
Yeah.
later. And
He
I
was-
love it.
Yeah.
But then you go into everything he's written, and you go into everything. I forget. I know this because I love this movie, but then I forget that Elf is his movie, right? I forget that that's his movie.
Elf.
Elf.
Ferrell.
Yeah, with Will Ferrell.
Flying
It's
mini
his
budgets.
movie?
Yeah,
directed Elf.
and who created the
idea.
Mandalorian? Favreau. I was down a rabbit hole. I did not realize his connection
gosh,
to
he did, didn't
Mandalorian.
he?
Yeah, and
Well,
it was
is
just
he like a nerd god?
Subtly.
If
Was
he
wasn't
should be.
problematic?
I don't think
was he
he's
canceled for anything?
I don't think he's. No, I looked for that. 'Cause
I feel like you can Google anybody. And
Right.
and-
You know, I looked.
Yeah, I
'cause
figure you looked.
Problematic
Yeah, you-
fools is what I like to.
This is who
scout
I go
out.
to if there's anybody I'm worried about. TBJ,
Listen,
is so and so canceled?
so far nothing has shown
She's
up
standards and
about
practices.
him. Yeah, but
I mean, if you go back to Swingers when he got his big break,
That's the thing. Swingers got to be problematic.
That- but
right?
that-
the
I
movie
think-
is problematic. Yeah.
But I think what I remember about Swingers is not a whole
I
lot.
don't remember
But what I do
much.
remember is it kind of undercut the macho posturing that it was kind of trucking in.
Yeah.
In
So it
that,
sort of made fun
like,
of it.
Yeah, him and Vince Vaughn were like these swinger dudes. Like, oh, we're awesome, cool dudes. But
Yep.
but in reality, Jon Favreau's character is a wiener who can't get over his ex-girlfriend and keeps leaving embarrassingly long messages on her phone.
Oh.
And then at the end, Vince Vaughn thinks this lady at a restaurant is hitting on him. It turns out she's just making faces at her baby, and he's all kind of like, "Oh, you're a dumb asshole," and that's the ending of the movie. So I
Which
think,
is like real life.
but also dumb problematic
Yeah.
dorks thought, "Oh, swingers, that's my lifestyle, man." It's like,
Right.
oh, so you're a dumb asshole.
Right.
So
the
is
takeaway
Jon
from that.
Favreau a god, a nerd god? What do
I
we
think he's
say? No?
underrated. I think people
forget
forget
that he
all
does
that
all
he
that.
contributes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see enough memes.
Does he
about
go
it.
to? I guess
No.
my thing is, does he go to Comic Cons and people worship him and stuff?
I mean, he goes when he's got a movie to
Yeah.
do. I think,
I think it's
or
just-
that's another thing. Celebrities can go to Comic Cons and we don't know it if they just put a weird
They're in
mask on.
costume. Yeah.
Because everyone's
Oh,
in
because
costume.
everybody wears masks. So
So-
you
Yeah.
think some of these cosplayers?
A lot of
are-
times, I know.
I think
Oh,
Tom
they
Hanks
totally
is walking
could be.
around with a
I would
might
pay
be.
money to bump into Tom Hanks and
Jimmy
cosplay.
Pumpkins or whatever it is.
Yes.
David Pumpkins.
But
Dressed
yeah,
up as
this,
Kylo, maybe?
this sent me on a whole,
No.
not as Kylo. Then I'd be like, Tom Hanks, I thought we were friends. And then you
Would
showed
you
up as
cancel
Kylo Ren,
Tom
and we
Hanks?
cannot be friends.
Would you cancel Tom
I would
Hanks then?
cancel my love for Tom Hanks in an instant if he showed up as Kylo Ren.
Okay, back to the movie. We get the R&D department when he's working on the stuff. He's working on his
42.
flying suit bit. And
Yeah,
when he's
'cause
been
he
up
can't
for
sleep.
a million hours,
Yep.
yeah.
Mark
And that's
42.
when I realized this Art Star was right. Something he said on Marco Polo. This was a Christmas movie. It's a total Christmas movie with all the Christmas stuff.
Did you peep the little album cover when he said drop the needle? It was like the Charlie Brown
it was a funky, and then he plays that funky Christmas song.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is great. I'm gonna make a point to watch this every Christmas. I hope.
didn't
'Cause
work
it's
on that
good of
like
a
Die
movie.
Hard. Like this is a
Yes,
Christmas movie.
we're gonna do it.
No.
Nerd School will be instrumental. No,
As
you're
a
too busy
Christmas
watching the Hallmark Christmas stuff.
aficionado. I also watch
Well,
Elf
we
1,000 times.
What
As
if
a,
we just
We could do a
say it
special
from
edition of Nerd School for Christmas nerds.
that's fine.
Because
I'll put
Christmas
in
nerd
Elf.
is a whole.
It's a world.
It's
It
a
is a
world.
world.
You'll lead that one.
And,
I
yeah,
sure can.
I am not the
Bring it
professor
on.
of Christmas nerd world.
Oh my
Listen,
God.
I'll have us all in Elf costumes. Let's do it.
The only Hallmark things I've ever watched are the
It
ones
doesn't have to be
that have been
Hallmark.
filmed at
Elf
our.
is here.
Oh, okay.
Home Alone's. All those. We got a million Christmas movies out here in this
Do
world.
we get?
Okay.
Are we going to pick one?
Last
can rank 'em.
Holiday.
Can we pick?
Is this
We'll rank
like?
them.
There's a camera in here. Could we all dress up in costume and like videotape this and
You
put it on
wanna live
YouTube
stream
or
that?
something?
The Queen City Podcast Network can do a video podcast if we want. to.
Ooh, you heard it here
This
first,
guy's
guys.
a video. Brian
Nerd
Baldashevitz
School's
is
taking
a
over
video
Christmas.
genius.
Nerd School and Christmas.
If you've seen,
Okay.
well, you guys know he directed. The
yeah,
nerds,
he's been doing
nerds,
all our live streams.
the nerdy nights. Okay,
Yeah.
back to the thing real quick. So, the Mandarin video, and that's what I was talking about the accent, and we already got that. But and the whole Iron Patriot new name thing
The
came up with
rebranding.
Bill Maher and Joan Rivers. I loved that whole thing. I totally forgot. I love that. Like that made it. Those little nuances make it so realistic.
little pop culture added in.
Yeah, we'll
Over
add that
time,
in, and it's
yeah.
like, oh, this is like a real world. This is Bill Maher's in the MCU, and Joan
Yeah.
Rivers is in the MCU.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, in the actual Marvel comics, they always have whoever the real president is as the president.
Right.
Yeah.
But President Ellis.
But
was
that
like,
wasn't.
This isn't the real world. There's a
Yeah.
President Ellis.
It's the MCU.
But
Elvis is in Joan Rivers, man. But he's trying to get out. He's trying to get out. Sorry, that's just every time I see Joan Rivers. But Joan Rivers, I even took a few minutes to pause it and just be like, Joan Rivers plastic surgery. So I just Googled that for a
You
while.
went down a rabbit hole of
her
plastic
face is so
surgery.
messed up. And what happened to Joan Rivers? She didn't need plastic surgery. She
A lot
never
of
needed
people, you
it.
don't necessarily need it.
You never need it.
It's psychological for some people, and some
It's what our
people,
society has done to women,
it's
right?
An
TBJ.
ideal standard through the male gaze.
Yeah.
and it's in her business. You reach a certain age, and
Yep.
you're
Yeah.
no longer
You're
viable.
You're trying
out.
to
You're
stay
trying to fight
fresh and young, and
I think you guys here on Nerd School, us gentlemen should apologize now
That. I'm sorry.
to TBJ on behalf
TBJ
of all
doesn't give
women.
a damn
Well,
about the male gaze, so we're good. So we're good. TBJ functions as TBJ.
Yeah, Joan Rivers is messed up, but I love that they add these celebrities. Tony's having that
R.I.P.
anxiety
Joan
attack.
Rivers.
He starts with that anxiety attack at the bar with the Christmas Story wormhole kid, where the kid's like, the wormhole. How'd you get out of the wormhole? And that's when he started freaking out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one thought I had is, how's he at this bar without everybody mobbing him because he's Tony Stark? But I love this whole anxiety attack, PTSD. Like TBJ said, like it calls back to
Well,
Avengers.
it was real.
It makes it real. It
Well,
makes him a real person.
Let's talk about like
Humanizes him,
they
right?
were in war, like
Yeah.
the Avengers
With
were at
aliens.
war.
That was war. Iron
and then
Man
he has
is-
to go back
yeah.
to real life. And how the hell do you go back to real life? Like
Yeah.
that
After
is,
you throw a nuclear bomb at a giant alien
Right?
warship, and you know there's more of that.
Yeah.
and you never know what's going to
And
happen.
you just made them
next.
very angry.
So you're anxious as hell. But that's like real life
Yeah.
veteran shit, right?
Oh, yeah.
You go to
Yeah,
war.
yeah.
All this crazy chaos happened. Now I got to go home and just walk through life like I didn't go through all that trauma.
Yeah.
So I love that part of the story because, one, we're mental health awareness was all of September, and yesterday was Mental Health Awareness Day. But it was like, yeah, this is important for people to see Hotshot, Tony Stark's
Yep.
struggling with anxiety because it's real, and the side effects of not being able to sleep, messing up his relationship. Like all of these things are real side effects of having anxiety, and we got to see it on the big screen with a guy that you would not think they would show his vulnerable side.
Ever having a vulnerable side. Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't see that. Yeah.
I love that part.
Oh, yeah, that whole thing was so real. And then I really I watched one of the deleted scenes has an extended Bill Maher thing about what he's, it's new rules. Last week it was, last year was aliens, and now it's this. And that's exactly what would really, if aliens really came and did something, we would just go on and we'd have the same news channel people, the same people on TV making fun of, aliens came last week. Hey, late night TV would be like, hey, that alien
how,
looked just like
we
Joe
are now
Rivers.
with the pandemic. It's like it happened.
No matter what happens, we
it
just
becomes
Those
part of-
aliens were communists.
yeah. So whatever it is, it's just kind of funny how those little things all make it more realistic of a world.
Right.
Happy badges. I don't know what that means.
Happy was obsessed with the badges.
Happy in the badge.
Yeah.
Guy.
Where's your security badge? Hey, Happy had a job.
But I mean,
Okay, Happy had a job.
Happy in general is like he's always
So it was a
wants
funny
to feel
bit.
bigger than he actually is. So,
But was he wrong? Was he wrong in these instances? Like, this guy shouldn't be here. So Happy was right all along.
Yeah, he's always.
He was like, "This is sketch," and everyone blew him off. I just want to point that out. Happy was right.
And I love that whole thing where he's talking to James Badge Dale and was like, "Oh, guy," and then he's like telling Tony about the big brain, and then the big bunny shows up, and that's definitely a Christmas movie again with the present and the Christmas.
The inappropriate present.
Yeah, so I got
So you
Tony
don't like
PTSD.
a ridiculous
and the
giant bunny. That
Yeah, the
has
big.
one of these.
Okay, the bunny was too big. You didn't like it? I hate the bunny. And then comes the weird red glowy fellas pretty soon. Can you regulate? And all this whole thing is introduced. And James Badge Dale, I want to talk about for a second, who is this one of these main bad guys, right? You know, that actor that wasn't he supposed to be the big deal for a while? Like, I was like, what happened to this
I
guy?
don't
He was
even
never
know
on
that
my
name.
radar.
I remember
so
when
I
he
don't
was
know.
huge. Like, he was on 24. He was on this. Wasn't he on
Oh, I
like,
didn't watch
Terminator and
24.
like wasn't he James Bond or something? Or
No, if he was James Bond, we would know his name.
you would know. Okay, you guys didn't know him. I just remember
didn't even
thinking
he was
care
a-
about James
when
Bond,
this
but I
came
like
out,
James Bond.
he was on 24. He was supposed to be like the next Kiefer Sutherland. He took over 24, and then I thought he was. I just remember him being everywhere. I was like, this guy's
Wait,
the next.
he was the he took over 24.
He was like,
Like
the,
Kiefer Sutherland said, I'm gonna just have like 8-hour sleeps. I'm not gonna be up 24 hours anymore. And so
that's what 24 became. Just him
some
sleeping.
guy named James Badgedale.
James
I haven't even
Badgedale?
heard of that guy.
You didn't know this guy? Okay.
No.
I
Anyway,
didn't recognize this guy when I saw him. Say, oh, he's this guy.
I remember that
He's
guy.
this
I just remember him being supposed to be. I thought he was supposed to be the next big thing. What happened to that guy? When you guys were like,
We
oh,
don't
no,
know.
I
We
don't
never
know what
knew
you're
him,
talking-
so-
Maybe he wasn't. Maybe that's a dream. I
No,
had.
maybe
Maybe
he
you just
wasn't.
watched 24 and were really excited about it.
I loved
He was on
24.
24 for a hot minute.
Blink.
I mean, he might have been. Who knows?
Or maybe a cold minute.
Because I think he married
Hollywood.
Kiefer Sutherland's daughter on that, right?
Hollywood is fickle, so we never know.
Okay, well, who cares about that guy then?
Kiefer Sutherland's daughter in 24, Alicia Cuthbert, was
Yeah.
hilarious on the show Happy Endings.
The TV show?
Yeah.
With
It only
what
lasted
you
a couple
call it?
seasons, but it was
The
pretty
Wayne-
good.
One of the Wayans playing. And,
Yeah,
David
it's on.
Wayans
It's
Jr.
streaming now.
Which
Adam Pally.
Wayans?
Paley.
Adam Pally, who was also in this movie,
Yeah,
He was in it.
incidentally, as the camera guy.
the
that
only young Wayans that's
models
still
his
out
life
here
after
doing
Tony
TV.
Stark.
Yeah,
Oh, that guy. I forgot about that. Who's that guy? That guy's
That guy
famous?
is in Happy Endings with Elijah Cuthbert.
Wow. 6 Degrees.
Yep.
Kevin
Sort of.
Bacon. Kind of. Okay. So the Downton Abbey bit after Happy was beat
That
up,
was
blown
cute.
up by that guy. That was a funny little bit. He loves Downton Abbey. Keep Downton Abbey on. And then again, you're humanizing Tony Stark. He actually cares about Happy. You know, he's there sitting with him, and he's
As
a
he
big
should,
important
yeah.
guy. As he should. And then he goes
But why do you
outside.
need to humanize Tony Stark?
because he is human.
No,
Because
he
we-
said the way he said humanizing Tony Stark, like we don't already view Tony as a human anyway.
He's got this big persona.
I feel
Yeah.
like it's all just this flashy show, and then like
Big
he's been
persona,
an asshole.
Snark. Yeah, lots of snarkiness. Lots of.
He can do great, like
I guess I shouldn't say
super
humanize.
genius
I should say
that can
endear.
do-
It endears us
There
to
you go.
Tony Stark.
Endears.
Because at the beginning, the first movie we talked about, he's a fucking asshole. Like he's a womanizer. He's a dick.
he is.
He's full of himself. But things like that, don't you feel like make you kind of, oh, he's got a heart. He likes it.
Yeah,
He cares
until he
about it.
tells the kid to get over. Oh, your dad left. Okay, get over
But
it.
yeah,
that
I
part was
love
funny.
that. Every time
Dad's
they
leave, get
tee
over
him
it.
up to do the saccharine thing
Yeah.
with the kid, he just veers in the opposite direction and
Right.
says, "Fuck you, kid."
Yeah, I
I'm
do
like,
like that.
dude.
But it's not doesn't really mean "fuck you, kid." It's just
yeah, he's
Right.
kind of joking with the kid.
yeah,
he really
Dad's
does
leave.
like
That's
the
what they
kid.
do. No need to be a pussy about it.
Yeah,
And
don't
then-
be a that was great.
it's like
was
that.
great.
That was one of the great
I'm
hits of
connected
this
to
movie.
you as he
Yeah.
drives away.
You know what I didn't know? That the kid Harley, like, did you guys know that he was in Endgame?
Yeah.
I don't know
In
why I
the-
missed
in
that.
the funeral scene.
Yeah.
Like they
I'm
just
gonna have to
pan
go
right
back
by
and
him.
watch.
He's,
Really?
he's grown up.
Like
Like
just
he's,
like random,
It's the
just
same
like there.
actor.
it's the same
Yeah.
actor,
What?
but he's obviously older than he
Yeah,
was.
yeah,
in
'cause
this
he's
movie.
aged. I need to go
so
back.
He just happens to be there, and they don't really call attention to him. They just
Right.
kind of pan past him. So
See how Marvel slides in things?
Yeah.
That's
Now, is that a
fine.
Marvel character
I love
in the
it.
comics?
so.
No, but I
think
think
it
it's
was
a
Iron
great
Man 3
thing because we
character.
see
Wow.
him building a relationship and then seeing him show up at a time.
That's what I was kind of wondering. Is he going to turn into a villain or something?
No.
Okay, I got a little thing trivia that I bet you guys don't know that I looked up.
Sure.
So when Tony goes out from the hospital and is surrounded by the press and he's pissed off at Mandarin, you hurt my friend, and he says, "You know what? 10880 Malibu Point, come get me."
I think it's out in the Pacific Ocean or something.
Did you Google it? Anybody
I
Google
didn't,
it?
but I
No.
think I've heard people do that.
I Googled it. It's a real place. It's not in the middle of the ocean. It's like a. If you look, Google Maps has a place. It's like
Is it
a
an
park.
actual
It's like a park.
residence?
It's on the beach, but it's like a state park you can go to. But there's a house nearby. But so that I fell down a rabbit hole looking up this address
course.
on Reddit. There's all this stuff, and so there's all these. You know how Google, you look up something on Google, and it's got what are the frequently asked questions. So like, is there a real Stark Tower? What's Stark Tower, modeled after?
Is there a
And
real Stark Tower?
when they filmed his house and everything, that's not a real house. Like that's just a set. Like that's not real. But they modeled it after a real house that belongs to Alicia Keys and her husband's somebody famous. I don't know who
Swiss
that is.
Beats?
Swiss Beats, yeah. Swiss
She
Swiss
said some
Beats.
guy, some
I don't
guy.
care about him because she just trumps all.
I don't know. He was
Alicia
pretty
Keys.
popping.
Rough Riders. Anyone?
Before,
Alicia Keys.
before
What?
her. So
It doesn't matter.
Rough
She's
Riders, DMX's crew.
Yeah.
yeah, he did all the
Rough
Swiss Beats.
Riders.
He was there.
I didn't know that.
He's integral.
And now you
She's
know.
Right.
just
Good to know.
great. Anyway, so Alicia Keys is the real Iron Man.
In the Joe-verse.
End of
In the Joe-verse.
episode. No, just
I
kidding.
don't know if I want to live in the Joe-verse.
What? You
Nah,
don't want
no
Alicia
one
Keys?
wants to live in the Joe-verse but Joe.
I'd
and
live in
maybe
the
Art.
Joe-verse.
I was about to say.
Yeah.
Joe's verse. We're
Art.
just living in it.
Well,
Right.
Art Star's the king of the Joe-verse.
That's why he's okay living in it. Yeah.
All right. So anyway, he gives the address, and then boom goes dynamite.
Wait,
They
I
all-
remember like that always
exploded.
seemed like that's. I feel like that's a PTSD.
Yeah.
Like,
You're
being that stupid and reckless and self-destructive.
give your
as to
address.
Give your home address to a terrorist on national television.
yeah.
Not that people probably don't.
Well,
know
it
who
also
Tony
could
Stark
just
was
mean that
anyway,
I'm
but-
badass and come get me, motherfucker.
It could, but in the context of this movie, I don't think it is.
Yeah,
Because he wasn't prepared. He didn't do anything. Pepper's trying to get him to go. Like, you were dumb. You just gave our address on TV. Let's vacate. And he was like,
just threaten
I'm
the
not
terrorists.
going anywhere. But he wasn't actually prepared.
But it
Right,
could also
like, by the
mean
time
that
he gets home,
he
it's like, Pepper, you get out of here. I think he's
Yeah.
realized I just did a really stupid thing.
But I don't think it was badassery. I think it was, I will handle
He
this
was mad.
my way,
yeah, that's what I was
angrily.
gonna say. Like,
But I don't think if he was of sound mind and had slept normally, he would have found a way to go after him without giving out his address on national TV.
At least that's when isn't this when he discovered it was the military was all involved when they have all because that's who came
No, not
coming for
yet.
him. All the bombs came from
No,
came
it
from
wasn't
military.
military.
No,
That blew him up.
That was
Killian.
Ames stuff.
That was
Yeah.
Ames.
Oh, it was
guys.
Killian that killed him. That's right. That's right. Because we found out at this point we didn't know.
No,
yet
we
that
see it
Killian-
because the guy who's
I
in
didn't
the main
know.
helicopter is the number one bad guy. So we
Right.
know right then it's
He's the
it's all
blow up.
Killian.
Killian's,
Killian crew.
Because Killian's crew. Okay, got it. I was thinking it was I think at this point
No.
I can't remember what I knew then. And I remember thinking that at some point, but I was wrong.
And it's not the military, it's just one big official that's a problem.
I got really sad about Dum Dum when Dum Dum dies in this whole house. The little arm thing that he always argues with. Dum Dum, come here. Like,
The one
what
that's
he
always
calls
making mistakes.
him. Yeah, and like when he falls off the cliff,
And you see the arm fall.
You see
like
him
they
die.
made a point to see the
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
was like,
I
oh.
don't think I noticed that until just this time I watched.
Yeah.
Well, and at the end he saves Dum
Yeah,
Dum.
of
Like when Dum Dum comes out of the, he pulls him
Yeah.
out of the ocean or whatever. I was like, oh, Dum Dum. Like I
Listen,
never
these are
noticed
his
that
babies.
before. But that was a very sweet moment where it's like a Wall-E or something or
Yeah.
yeah. So then the kid scene comes up and then the dads leave. No reason to be a pussy. I wrote that. Pepper gets a message, talks with Marissa, and this is when
Killian
they're in
comes
the
in.
car, and that's when I was surprised. That's the thing. We already talked about that. But that Mandarin, entry. This is when Mandarin is entering, who we think is Mandarin, to do the video in the house. Like that scene right there reminds me of when celebrities show up backstage to our shows. Like,
Yeah.
that's exactly how it feels.
Don't
Like
look 'em
everybody-
in-
don't
don't
look
look
at
at
them.
them.
Don't. Everybody treats them like it's like, That's right. One thing I drives me nuts about what we do. It's like everyone always treats these
But
people
to
like
note,
they're these
there's not
gods.
that's not all of them that show up. Some of them,
Yeah,
are not.
some of them don't show up like
Yeah.
that at all. They just show up and wait, what's going on? But a lot of
those
them,
are my favorites.
Yeah.
When some of them show up and are like, someone walked to the box office once during a comedy festival.
Yeah.
And he just stood there, and I was like, "Can I help you?" And he's like, "I'm with the show." How do I know that?
Yeah, right.
It's a podcast, right? It's a famous podcast,
Right.
It's famous. I listen to them, but they can be problematic because it's just two white men, right?
Oh boy.
But one of them is
I
learning
know who it
to
is.
get
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
But the way he said, I was like, how would I know that? Two, the easiest way, and we've had people get lost and come in through the front and go,
Yeah, they don't
hey,
know.
can you help me get downstairs to my
Right.
dressing room? That I can do. Let me find front of house for you. We got that. But when you just come and just stand and pose and go, I'm with the show, I don't care. Like, I generally, unless you're Beyonce,
I don't give a shit.
unless you're Beyonce, I don't care who you're with.
So can Beyonce do that? Can
Yeah,
Beyonce do the
well,
thing
if
where
Beyonce walked in,
I need to be
Beyonce?
surrounded by white
She
sheets
would-
at all times?
I would be okay
She
with
would
that.
never go to the box office.
No.
Beyonce's not going to the box office.
Right.
but if I happened to run into Beyonce and they said, don't look at her, I would.
Unless it's TBJ working at the box office. She's like, oh, TBJ's
She
here?
might have heard because I'm mad.
Somebody,
So, you don't think
but,
so? You
but
don't
she's
reach
coming to
her,
the
you
box
gonna
office on a throne with a bunch of beefy guys holding her.
Then
around
I'm
and
okay with that.
Feeding her grapes.
Yeah, but I liked this scene specifically. What I liked
Yeah.
about that, when we learn later the strings that Killian is pulling, that he's even made the people on his own team believe, right?
That's the only way you
There's
can
only
make
like
this
2 or
work.
3 people who know it's a ruse.
Yeah.
But everyone in there still thinks this is Mandarin.
Because that's what I felt like when they reveal at the end that he's fake. I was like, well, then why did they act all stupid?
No,
at that?
that's Killian
that's
being
it,
maniacal.
right.
Like, I'm building a world, and
She gets
let's
a no
be real.
prize.
If you're a villain, how many people are you going to tell you're a villain? Like, real life.
Yeah.
Classic Wizard of Oz, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, classic comic books, you do
Man
the villain
behind the
monologue,
curtain.
explain your whole plan, and then you get foiled.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah.
you know, old school stuff. But this is...
I guess it is Wizard of Oz, kind of.
And that's
This is
basically
Wizard
his
of Oz.
downfall is that, like, he has the moment where it's like, oh, subtlety's had its day.
Right.
Everything's... No, if you'd stayed subtle, none of this
Maybe
you
you'd have
wouldn't
been-
have lost. But
You
you
would have
just...
got on with it.
You start getting into that...
Power play.
You know, the power play, the jealousy of Tony Stark.
Well,
the same
that's
thing
what it
that
is.
freaking
The
Sam Rockwell had in
unraveling
Iron Man 2.
of both of
Justin
them.
Hammer.
His 2, what do you say? His 2 demons. Both of them are about issues with Tony, right?
Mm-hmm.
Neither one of them would have turned really bad. But then I'm like, damn, you let someone control your emotions that much? Now I know, speaking as someone who can get angry, that this is a contradiction.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that, like, one night stand and you left me, and now I'm going to go work with old dude over here who is problematic AF
Mm-hmm.
because you gave me a one night. Ma'am, if your science is what it is, I hated that trope. If your science is badass as it is,
Yeah.
build it. You do not have to link up with this villain, right, and be on this team. And then Killian, like, on that roof being like, suddenly I can have power because some dude didn't talk to you.
Yeah.
That is toxic.
popular
That's
guy.
one of the
must
things
be-
about the MCU that can, I mean, it's interesting in one way and it's also a little frustrating in other ways, is that Tony Stark has such an outsized impact on every
Right.
other character. Like, he was like,
Right.
being Iron Man, he was the first Avenger
Yep.
in that regard. Captain America notwithstanding, in that just like everyone, like part of the, some people have some issues with the first 2, you know, the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies because
Right.
Spider-Man's villains are just mad at Tony Stark.
Yeah.
Like, it's not about Spider-Man, it's
Right.
about
Yeah.
Tony Stark.
Huh.
And now that he's out,
Yeah.
maybe Spider-Man can have villains that are involved with
His and his only,
Ah,
right?
shoot.
Or it could just be one of those things where they go like foretelling the connection between Tony and Peter before it actually developed. You know what I mean? Like,
That's true.
we know that they're going to be close, but let's just start off having all of his villains be pissed at Tony already because they know that he's going to maybe they're in tune with
But
the
it's so
multiverse,
like some
and
of
they
them
know
have
what's gonna
valid
happen.
reasons to be pissed, but some of them like
Oh,
do we
everyone
then
has a
turn
valid reason to be
into-
pissed
yeah.
at Tony Stark. That's
Yeah,
that's one
But
of the
do we-
amazing things
do
about
we
this character.
Flip it into this maniacal, like, now I'm creating creatures that explode and burn people. Like, where does it go from?
names
Like,
my technology
I'm
fire.
very angry at you
Yeah.
to I will destroy it all
Yeah,
because
yeah.
of you.
It's, you know, you trucks in a world of villains for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, so the people that you're working with are going to be crazies. And
Yeah.
not going to reform along with you.
Speaking of crazies, those red crazy people that fire people. Is that anything?
That's the
is
extremist
this-
storyline.
That's the
Which
okay.
was,
That's
like I said,
that's in
subcutaneous
the comics.
Funyuns.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
You get all up
regenerating.
in there.
Yeah,
And
turn
in
into
the comics, it's more of a virus, but it's also them trying to.
it's like
another-
nanotech, I think.
Yeah, but it's like another version of, everything always goes back to the super soldier serum. So it's like a way
That's
of them,
always
like
trying
yeah.
to
So
The
it was like a
Hulk- the
military
Hulk
thing where they were
came
trying to
through,
create kind of sort of like a super soldier.
yeah.
I mean, I guess you kind of get that just with even though Killian
I mean, he did.
isn't military, but he's also it's almost like a
He's on
private.
military contracts, though. She
Right,
says
yeah,
that.
yeah.
He has a lot of military contracts.
So it's them trying to trying to weaponize humans.
And we
Okay,
see
so
that
that
with the main red bad guy. Remember, we discover his records.
Yeah.
We find his mom in the bar. Tony's like, I don't think your son is like just doing it just because. I think.
Yeah, and his mom from My Name Is Earl. She plays the hooker. But I looked her up on IMDb because I was like, where do I know her from? You basically know her from everything.
Yeah, she's been in a lot.
She has been in her IMDb page is 90
She's one of
pages
those
long.
people that shows
She's
up
in
and you don't
everything.
always know her
Hey, we
name.
need an old white whore. Okay, that lady. I think there's an old white whore
Hey,
in everything.
Joe, that was kind of problematic.
Listen.
And was it?
It was
Sorry.
kind of problematic.
we
I'm
need
surprised.
an
TV
No, she
Jay
plays a
Leno.
hooker, and she plays, or not. I shouldn't say whore, but like white trash lady,
Her roles.
like her, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Because she's a hooker in My Name Is
Or-
Earl, but she's hilarious. But she's been in so many things. She must have been around forever. So
What's her name?
He probably didn't even. Did you write
what
it
it
down?
did. I think it's
you know her name though when you hear it.
Yeah.
I've forgotten it.
I don't know. I
And she
didn't
could be one of
really
those people
recognize
you
her.
don't know. There are a few actors where you see them all the time. And you're like,
It's
I don't
that
know
guy.
his name.
No, because they
but
actually
I've seen him
towards
on
the
a
end
million
it kind of
things.
has her featured. I'll try to
That's
look it
like
up.
my wife and I have been watching old episodes of The Love Boat.
Uh-huh.
And at the beginning of every episode of The Love Boat,
You from now on, Annie's gonna bring the Love Boat into every.
yeah, absolutely.
Dale
But like
Dickey
the beginning is like a
What
like
is
a.
Dale Dickey.
Dale Dickey. That's right.
All right,
I
If you
don't
look
know
her
name.
up, man.
but every
go
episode
ahead.
of The Love Boat
Love Boat.
begins with like who's on this episode of The Love Boat, and it's just like a popcorn popper of random 70s, 80s character actors.
Yeah.
I love
and
it.
you're like, oh,
is
that
the
guy. I've seen that guy. He was probably on Night Court. That's probably why I remember him.
The Love Boat is key for people just popping up.
Yeah.
And then you go, huh. And now you can trace a lot of people back to that one episode of Love Boat. They were on there together, right?
A lot of people
Yeah.
are on multiple episodes of Love Boat as different characters. I've noticed. I just watched Daisy Duke was on as two different people, a few seasons apart.
That's great, Daisy Duke.
They're like, well, bring her back. No,
Yeah.
she can't. She can't be the same
Can't be
character.
the same person. And then, unless they play a relative of one of the main cast members, then
And we're just supposed to
Weezy
ignore
Jefferson is Isaac's aunt.
Wheezy.
Wait, in what? In
Love Boat.
Isaac's aunt. Oh, I love Isaac. Oh, I'm gonna have to start watching Love Boat. Where are you watching this?
Paramount Plus.
Man,
There's
like,
like
now
like
I've gotta
10
add the
seasons.
Love
I'm only on
Boat.
like season 6. It's
Daisy
just like dumb comfort
Hey,
viewing.
Isabel Sanford
I'm
is my
all about
favorite. I wanted her to
comfort
be my,
watching.
I wanted her to be my mom growing up, or my grandma or something. Like she's just that raspy voice.
That's the way I feel about Loretta Devine.
yeah, I'd love
People
her to
used
be
to
my
always,
auntie.
I used to always say I love Loretta Devine, and people used to always think that I wanted to like do something weird with her. But I was like, no, she has like this kind of like mom, like
yeah,
anything she does is like.
oh gosh, she
That's a
was
different
great
kinda
too.
weird.
she could be my cool auntie. I'd
Yeah.
take Loretta Devine.
She just
as an
reminds me
auntie.
of warm milk and cake. I don't like warm milk, but if I did like
Comforting.
warm
She's
milk,
very
she'd be like
comforting.
warm
What do
milk
I know
and cake.
her from? Oh, what was that show? Nobody liked it except me. That show I remember her from. It's like she played a teacher.
that.
Boston
All those
Public.
narrows
teachers,
down.
Boston Public. Yeah, everybody hated that.
I was like, who?
Didn't
I
they
don't know how
hate
you
that?
got that
Boston
impression.
Public.
Is it Chi McBride or Chi McBride?
Shy.
Shy McBride.
Shy.
I loved
Shy.
him. Yeah, he was
Shy,
on
Shy.
that.
Yeah, he was the
anyway.
principal.
All right, we're getting way off. Well,
That's
that never
what we do.
happens.
How you
That's
like
what we
Boston
do.
Public, but you don't like CW shows? I think Boston Public to me is like
It is like a CW
Yeah.
show. I don't know why I like that.
Joe just has weird taste. That's fine.
There was something about Boston Public I liked. I can't remember.
You don't have to explain
Maybe
your
it was-
taste.
I don't remember. Okay. Yeah. Why the hell did I like? I'll have to think back.
It's about
Somebody's
teachers.
on.
You're married to a teacher. Maybe that was a thing.
No, I don't know. Who knows?
You have to
All right.
rewatch it and tell us
There
why.
wasn't as much. Now there's just so much stuff. There's not time for anything. Like then it was still like network
What are you
TV.
telling
Not
me? I
everything
don't
was.
even watch. Yeah, you know how I am.
Yeah, like we're at a point where I don't have to watch every nerd-related thing because there's way
No.
Too much
of it.
nerd stuff.
Even though, like,
We're also
there's a
in
whole
the-
prequel
We're
series.
still in a pandemic, so I think a lot of us are like trying to find peace in Love Boat because it's comforting to me and Hallmark Channel because it's there's something comforting about these storylines that you know
I wonder what's my
are
comfort level.
soothing. I don't know if you have. Can villains have comfort levels? Can Sith Lords have comfort levels?
Yeah, they actually can.
Oh, that's
I don't know if there's something called the Hate Boat that you could watch.
right.
The Hate Boat.
A
That's our
hateration
show.
episode.
I have a lot of compassion.
That's probably that reality show,
For evil.
Mediterranean
Hate
Right.
Skiff.
face.
For
That's probably
evil.
the Hate Boat.
Sorry, there's no Kylo Ren CW
Okay.
show for you.
Little trivia question. For
I
you
love how you
nerds.
have these trivia questions.
What is the line that Tony Stark says? Lady, that could be the name of my autobiography.
Oh,
She makes the quick line. It's the FBI agent who's on fire, and he's fighting her. That whole fight
Oh,
scene
it's
in the kitchen.
I remember it because it was funny.
it was funny, and I can't remember what it was.
He said something about hot dates hotter than you, and
Cheap trick and a cheesy one-liner.
Yeah.
Lady,
yeah.
that could be the name of my autobiography. And then I liked. Tony said, "You like that, Westworld?"
It was interesting.
Yes. I am upset. A couple other notes. I'm upset. Iron Patriot didn't get to do more. Don Cheadle. He saves the president at the end.
You
That
didn't
was
like
kind
the
of
part
cool.
where he was like, you wanted to punch him. We want to shoot his face off. Like,
Yeah. Well,
very
it's just-
aggressive
he's
and
like,
angry. I was
Give
like,
me a
yeah.
suit. Give me a suit. Not can't do that. Come on. I was really mad. I was like, give him a freaking suit. So he goes and gets it from the president.
Yeah, he goes
which
to
is
get
cool.
his own suit back.
So that part, that kind of like right when I was typing, it's like, man.
See,
I like
Did
that
Don
they
Cheadle
did a
wrong?
lot of like switching around who's in the suit. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
the suit is different from the guy. So, the president's in the armor. That's cool.
right.
I wanted more Iron Patriot kick ass, and we got some of it at the end when he
Because
jumps.
Don Cheadle
when Don
is
Cheadle jumps and
a
kicks
god.
ass at the end into that
Yeah.
and saves the president. That was pretty cool.
See, does this not make you think that switch from Howard to Don
Oh, you
Cheadle
got me a
was
while
the
ago.
best switch?
You
Okay,
won
just
me
wanna
over.
watching
that one.
Wonder Years yet?
He's
no,
a
not
bad
yet.
enough dude to rescue the
I'm
president.
saving that to watch, but I've watched previews and I'm so ready.
That's pretty good.
I'm so ready.
Tony needs Gary, and Gary needs Tony. I'm just going through the. We got a few minutes left.
Go for it.
That whole part.
Gary Shandling.
Tony needs Gary, and Gary needs Tony.
Oh,
Gary's that guy.
that's the
that
Adam Pally.
cameraman guy.
That's the
Yeah,
cameraman.
yeah. That was a funny bit. That whole thing.
Adam Pally's pretty funny.
And that kid, when he panics, he says, "Well, why don't you just build something?"
Right.
And he tells him, "Oh yeah, why don't I?" Well, maybe because it takes you 45 hours. So what, for 45 hours, kid? I wanted to be there and be like, he doesn't have time to make something, kid.
But he
Get
does,
the power
and he did.
going. Well, he did because, come on.
I think the kid is
That
the voice
was
of reason.
unbelievable.
When he's having a panic attack, the kid's like, breathe.
He couldn't have made that shit in less than 45 hours, and it all would have been over.
He's Tony Stark.
And the world
and
ended.
He can't do it.
And then I wrote Trevor Slattery, holy crap. That's when that reveal came. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So I know I
Yeah.
love when he is arrested and the cameras are by. He's like, he gets out of the cop car and he's like, oh man, I'm arrested. And then he sees camera flash. He goes, hello. Hi.
Yeah.
How are you? He was going to
Yeah.
take his fame however
Yeah,
he could.
that was so
Yeah.
funny.
He's,
And that's true about actors.
What did you
Not all actors.
Did you peep the Thor moment?
Remind me of the
When he's handcuffed
Thor.
to the bed.
Yeah, I was about to get to
Okay.
the part when he's attached to that bed. I watched a deleted scene on that too. There's like a deleted scene of him, just 25 takes of him making up shit that he says to those two guys. It's hilarious. You got to watch that on Disney Plus. But yeah, so hey man, how many miles from Tennessee to Miami? And
Oh, that was
the
a
guy
fun
knew
scene.
that bit. I wrote this.
That's all you wrote? This?
I think I can't remember. I don't know why. I think because I love that whole thing. Like,
This.
oh no, I know, because he was like, "Oh yeah, you got to deal with this." This. Where is
while
it?
he was waiting
like
on
yeah,
the
he's
suit.
doing that.
Yeah.
But what about Thor? He's
Well,
like,
you know, like how
look, there's Thor,
Thor
right?
does the thing where he
Yeah,
sticks his
yeah,
hand on the
with a-
hammer.
with a
So, like
hammer.
Tony was kind of like doing a Thor thing because
Yeah.
like
He
was
sitting
calling his
there.
thing.
The
He was
suit.
waiting for it to come. Yeah.
yeah.
And so he probably got that idea from Thor, right? Because Thor's always putting his arm out and
Right. That's why I called it the Thor moment.
the Thor moment. That's and now I was like, did he say Thor? Because you said that before, and I was looking for it. So I love that whole partial Iron Man fight. He's only got parts of his body.
Yeah.
And he's
Yeah,
fighting.
he's got like a boot and a blaster, and he's managing to fly. With
Yeah,
that.
it's cool. That was just a cool.
And then
That's
the
how they made it
cool-
different.
Yeah.
When him coming down the steps kind of reminded me of like him playing Charlie Chaplin. Just the whole like
A little
coming down.
clumsy.
I
Yeah.
did like that. Like he actually, yeah, he was Chaplin.
hit the
That
nuts.
like, all right, he doesn't have the suit. Just puts on a hoodie and invents a lot of stuff. He can still infiltrate this
He
whole
can still do
compound
that.
just by
Yeah.
himself,
Yeah.
being sneaky man.
Well, I think my all-time favorite line of the whole thing was, honestly, I hate working here. They're so weird.
Yeah.
The one thug. I'm so glad they added that into this movie. That there's one
He's
henchman.
like, this is dumb.
This
I'm
guy-
not- why am I fighting you? Like, bye.
I want to know where that came from. There's got to be henchmen that don't give a shit. They're just
Well, if you
honestly,
watch the
I'm outta here.
MODOK Hulu series, it's kind of like have you seen
The MODOK Hulu series is not MCU canon. At
right,
all.
but I'm just saying,
But
it's like
Patton
you
Oswalt,
have like
right?
you
Yeah.
have like all these AIM workers, and they're like doing a random stuff or whatever. But there's that one is like, I'm really just doing. Even in the comics,
just
like,
here
they're
so
like,
I don't get
I'm
fined.
just doing this to
Yeah.
or like damage control. It's like
Yeah, yeah.
like we're doing this. Like this is busy work, but I'd rather be doing something else. Kind
I
of.
mean,
thing.
working
I
is
mean,
working
yeah.
until it gets, let's be real. That guy was like, die or quit. Like, I might
Yeah.
as well quit. 'Cause
These guys
this-
are so
This
weird
is coming
anyway.
down anyway. Like,
I love.
I'm not giving my life for this. I'm not a part of this.
That's like my favorite thing about Marvel. They just do those little things.
Mm.
It is weird that the president was the Grim Reaper. It's kind of
Bill
weird.
and Ted,
that
yeah.
Bill and Ted's Grim Reaper.
And, well, actors can play different roles.
I mean, even at this point, we've had all this action. It's already been a great movie, and then the boat scene hasn't even happened yet. And so then,
Yeah.
when the whole boat scene happens,
The house party.
it's just
Yeah, like I did like a lot of it. I'm just gonna jump off a steel girder and I'm gonna have an Iron Man suit catch me.
Right?
so cool.
And this suit's broken. I'm gonna jump off another one and a different one will come over.
Right.
Like if that scene
Well, it's
only
also
was your
because it's
only
Tony,
action,
like the suits are coded to him. So it's like, Tony's in peril. Let's just go save him.
Yeah,
Right.
and they just come all flying. And I was really, I was sad at the end when he's blowing them all up. I'm like, no, please don't blow them up. No,
But
Operation
he's doing that for a reason.
Clean Slate or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, if you take the Iron Man movies themselves as a trilogy, that
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
wraps something. I don't really need to be Iron Man anymore. I can,
Yeah.
It's
I
more-
don't need the suit to be.
Yeah.
I don't need the
which
suit
he
to be
proves,
important.
like again, like he sneaks in with
Throughout
just his
this
own
movie.
contraptions.
Yeah.
He's able to exist without it. He fixes the whole shrapnel in his
Yeah.
heart thing, which was
Oh yeah, that's whole. I
like the
totally
long-standing Tony Stark problem in comics was
Right.
He's got that thing. He needs the.
I
the
totally didn't even remember that. I know I saw this before. I didn't know they fixed his heart. But let's talk about Pepper for a minute.
Yeah.
Pepper becoming the
Talk about Pepper
flamey,
for a lot of
the
minutes.
flamey disease, and when she like beats the shit out of him, and goes, "That was really violent." Hilarious.
Because she's so used to
it.
being
Gwyneth did a
not,
good job,
right?
Yeah, she was great, and it was funny. Their whole thing is funny.
That's the director of this movie is Shane Black, and he worked with Robert Downey Jr. before this. On a
Oh, we
movie
should
called
talk about
Kiss
that
Kiss
beginning.
Bang Bang,
Oh,
which set the record at the time I watched it from start to me laughing hysterically because of a thing they used again in this movie.
Really?
Is that like Robert Downey Jr. opens the movie with some narration and then kind of gets off track immediately and goes, all right, that was stupid. Let me go back to the beginning. And for some reason, I thought that was really, I was not expecting that. And it was hilarious then. And they did it again with this thing,
Okay.
this movie, where he's narrating
narrating,
and
yeah.
then he just goes off the rails immediately. And because he's Tony Stark and he always goes off the rails
Yeah.
immediately.
so this guy, this director, what did you say his name was?
Shane Black.
Shane Black. Has he directed anything else in the MCU?
I don't think so because I mean this was kind of a one-hit thing, and then like Iron Man 3 like had a controversial enough reception. There's people who go like, I don't like that he's dealing with a kid all the time. Why isn't he?
Iron Man 3 had a controversial reception.
Yeah,
People didn't
with
like
the,
it.
the Mandarin swerve
Oh, yeah.
pissed off a lot of nerds, and then like, the fact that it was
This
like,
movie was unbelievable.
Remember, there's always reasons for nerds to be angry.
That's
You're damned if you do, and you're damned if
Yeah.
you don't.
I loved
It's a
it.
big population.
I
of
couldn't
people.
believe it. I mean, as you guys saw from my text, I was just like,
Yeah.
"Holy
we
shit!"
didn't even talk about the whole plane thing yet.
Oh, the plane scene. Oh yeah,
Oh
I
yeah,
skimmed over
where
that.
He saves everybody.
Yeah, and that's remarkable. That was just
Right.
very imaginative and really like, all right, I have 13 people falling from a plane. How do I save them? I don't have like a net or anything.
Right.
Oh,
So
God.
you-
Oh yeah, I said, "Oh my G, airplane falling scene. How good is this fucking movie?" Is what I wrote. How good is this fucking movie? Like that whole. I remember because I have seen this before. When I got to that, I was like, "That's this movie too." When I think of this movie, like when I started watching, I was like, "Oh yeah, this is the one with Ben Kingsley, man. Oh, this one's lame." Every time I start watching, I'm like, "Oh, this is the one with." You know,
go
whoever.
into some things with a lot of hateration.
But then when
Can we
I
just talk
watch
about
it,
that?
it's so good. I don't know why I think that.
You're
but
very judgy, Joe.
I know.
guess.
When Loki came out, he was like, "Ugh, this guy."
yeah, I don't know.
And now you're like Iron Man 3, Ben
And
Kingsley.
He's
Ugh.
already got
This
guy
guy.
Clint
Right, was
chewed up the Hawkeye.
this stupid thing, and I
Right.
loved it. So maybe I'll love Hawkeye because I really.
Or maybe you just go into things with clean slates, okay?
Well, you guys are helping me with this clean slate.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm liking it more because I'm paying more attention. I'm getting like, I think going into it knowing what the storylines are and all this other shit and paying
Yeah.
attention is like, oh, there's twists and there's a story and it's not just blowing
Paying
up
attention
stuff.
goes a long way. Yeah.
And the action has more impact if it's relevant.
If
to
you
the
know
I'm
what's
story.
still telling you,
happening. Yeah.
there's a huge percent of the population that doesn't pay any
Yeah,
attention to this.
and that's,
They're like
I
me.
mean, that's fine.
ADD,
but that's
baby.
also people who are not going to go home and dissect it. They just saw a movie,
Well,
lots of fighting,
yeah.
great, cool. They go move on with their life.
But we
right?
can help them with that, right?
If
the
they
Nerd
want,
School can help you.
they may not want it. Like
we
I
gotta force 'em.
wholeheartedly support people who are just watching for entertainment purposes and just clearing their brain. That's fine. Not everybody wants to be a nerd.
That's true.
And
But
that's
our
fine, too.
our new marketing plan should be forcing people to listen to Nerd School.
No, we are not a cult.
You put headphones on people.
No, we're gonna say no to that.
We're not
Iron
a cult.
Fist.
No.
The Nerd School cult.
That's a whole different show.
You and Art can do that in the Joe verse. I'm gonna step out of that one.
All right. Anything else? So I just loved the heck out of this movie. It was really, really good. I think it's 5 stars. This is the best movie in the MCU so far for me.
Yeah, I mean,
It was just
there's-
really, I couldn't believe how good it was.
the reaction to it was very polarized. It was from people going,
Yeah.
"Oh, I love that you played with my expectations and you did new stuff."
I
and
love the
different things."
twists. I love
And
everything.
other people are like, "Where's the Mandarin? Mandarin's very important."
I mean, Ben Kingsley's really funny and talented. Anyway.
Yeah.
What did you
He was
guys
the fun
think of
part.
it? Let's wrap this up. Tell me what you guys thought. Did you like it?
I liked
Hate
it.
it.
I liked it. I liked it a lot.
and you liked All Hail the King, the one shot that
Yeah, I watched all-
follows us
yeah,
up and
that
sort of
little bit.
establishes that there's a real Mandarin,
Yeah.
and which we don't actually see until Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten
Oh,
Rings.
and also the reporter, Jackson Norris. He's an actual Marvel character, but he's not associated with the Ten Rings, I don't think, though. And he's not.
Oh, from All Hail the King, that
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Hammer, Justin Hammer's in that too.
Yeah, I forgot he was in that. I was
prison.
He's like,
oh,
not
Justin
right,
Hammer,
not here,
friend-
not here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
like
want
it.
to see more of that guy. Sam
Of all the
Rockwell's
Iron
best.
Mans, it's my favorite.
What's your favorite Iron Man?
And you know I don't care that much about Iron Man, so. I mean, listen, not to be a joke, I watch movies where I can find something I identify with, right? There's nothing about Iron Man as a person that
Yeah.
I identify with.
But
That's
you,
it.
But you
Oh,
like
I
Batman,
thought there was a-
Batman's
oh.
I
ears.
identify with Batman.
Batman's
Vengeance,
ears.
listen.
So-
Vengeance. Yeah,
Hurt,
vengeance.
hurt
yeah.
my people.
Yeah, that's
hurt
true.
my people. Okay,
Yeah.
hurt me or hurt my people.
So, when
and
the
I will come for
argument
you.
of who would you prefer,
Batman or-
Iron Man or Batman, you definitely choose.
Oh, everybody knows
Batman
TBJ.
still.
TBJ is Batman.
All right, so how would
Thank you for
Batman
reminding me.
rescue if Batman's on an airplane and someone blows out the back and 13 people are falling to their death? How does
He'd
Batman
find
save
a
them?
way.
He pull out a net out of his utility belt.
Yeah, he's got all
Right?
that stuff on his belt.
It'd be like
He's
a
got
couple
all
of them, too.
that. Yes, and he'd call in his reinforcement. Don't play games.
Oh,
Batman.
that's right. He
Nightwing.
would go Batwing. The jet would be flying. right
Yeah.
No, he'd be like Alfred, because
Alfred, can you make sure? Yep.
All right.
Alfred, I need you to make sure.
Andy, did you love this movie?
I did. I like it more every time I see it. I love that they don't get saccharine with the relationship between him and the kid because
Yeah.
Tony Stark can't
Yeah.
process saccharine.
He's not that.
He's not that guy. Like he is that guy, but he can't verbalize that.
Yeah.
How many stars?
4.5.
Do we do? Are we doing stars? Do we do that?
Not
anymore?
really. Or did we,
We
do
haven't done that.
How many stars
for
you give it?
So long. 4.
I'm giving it 12.
We went up to 5.
I just like since we're not going to talk about it for a while. I for some reason I feel compelled to mention that when they do the Mandarin in the Shang-Chi movie, they
said
kind of
do-do.
combine the Mandarin with Shang-Chi's father, who is another problematic Asian stereotype.
Oh,
character
really?
named Fu Manchu.
Oh gosh.
They make the Mandarin into Shang-Chi's father instead, but they
Oh,
but
that's
the whole
cool.
organization of the Ten Rings I think is kind of a
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Spoiler and
You're
Hopefully
going to
most
forget
people,
this.
but
But our
yeah.
listeners, there's listeners that
Our
you might-
listeners have probably already watched it.
You think so?
Yeah.
It's been out for a good couple months.
I would think there's a lot of dumb guys like me that are using this to help, but they won't care either. If they're a dumb guy like me, they won't care. You
I
can't
mean,
spoil it.
it's you know that, and that's like, and it turns out that Trevor Slattery has been abducted by the real Mandarin.
Okay.
As at the end of the
Oh, that's cool.
All Hail the King, and so he's just been held prisoner there out of thing. But they make a point of in this movie saying that Mandarin refers to a chicken dish. And like they sort of mock the fact that they use the word Mandarin to create a global terrorist.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
But what more?
I would like to look up the history of the word Mandarin and to see, does it mean advisor to the king or does it mean a chicken dish?
That's your
It's an
homework
orange.
assignment. Do
And
it.
it's a language. Like, do you speak Mandarin?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
that's
Yeah,
a
it's a
type of
language.
Chinese.
Right.
Hanyu.
And
Is that Mandarin or are you making something up?
No, Hanyu means Chinese and Mandarin.
Okay. Just listen. We never know.
Yeah,
That's
didn't you
that's why I was
say-
checking. Art.
didn't you start an episode with saying
Ni hao.
Chinese? Ni hao. Yeah, ni hao, motherfuckers. All right, well, let's end this episode.
That's it for Iron Man 3.
Iron Man
All
3.
right,
That was
the next one is Thor: The Dark World,
Ooh,
which is not
Don't.
say it, Andy. It sucks.
not the best.
Thor: The
No.
Dark World's next.
Yeah, I believe
None of
that's
the
the next
Thors
one.
were good until Ragnarok.
I loved Ragnarok.
When does Ragnarok come?
That's
got-
the third one.
yeah.
That comes after Avengers 2: Electric Boogaloo.
But you still have to
I
get
know
through
I haven't
this
seen. I
one.
think we're to the point where I haven't seen these. I don't think
That's
I
fine.
saw this.
Well, Thor: The Dark World is not super memorable, but it's got
Who's the big villain?
Malekith.
Malekith, the Dark Elf.
Like, look for TBJ.
We're gonna
to-
watch it.
Can you
It's fine.
translate? Okay, we're
No.
gonna watch. Yeah.
You're gonna watch
right.
it. That's
Okay.
what you're gonna
he's,
do.
He's played by the same guy who plays Destro in the first G.I. Joe movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're gonna watch
But
it,
it's an
wasn't happy
absolute
with it.
waste of that actor.
and then
Oh, okay.
you'll have your own opinion.
Well, I was upset with that guy being Destro because Destro should be a black guy.
Yeah,
Because
that's
in the
another
cartoons he
conversation.
is. He had a,
It
yeah.
is his profile that he was like Scottish.
Oh yeah, he was supposed to be Russian or Scottish or something. But his voice was always that
Yeah.
deep.
Yeah,
That
And
guy,
if you
that
look
one
just
guy.
under that little gap between his neck and the mask, you can see some melanin in his skin.
Poppin'. So yeah, we'll get
Anyway,
to
yeah,
the
we'll get
next
to that,
Thor,
yeah, we'll get
and
that
you'll-
soon.
You can write down all your questions and all your
But in the meantime,
concerns.
hit us up on our Instagram.
on our socials, Instagram, Twitter, and our
Mm-hmm.
Patreon is open for joining. If you hit the Patreon, we can start giving you content. And listen, it does not have to be these three shirtless.
What if people want?
First
Want
off,
it
What if
to
people-
be these
Joe
three
misspoke. It's never
shirtless.
Joe's only the shirtless one.
No, at one point he said all three of us.
Yeah, but
he
I'm
said all
just-
3
I'm
of
just-
you.
I'm just clarifying.
No, no.
for
That
everyone
he is
Joe's
full of
the
crap.
What we're offering though is that
No.
Art Star and Andy and I will get in a bathtub together.
See,
Uh,
so no, pay money to Patreon to not see that.
watch our
right?
bubble bath. We'll do a
You don't
live
want
bubble
that.
bath on IG, the three of us.
No, but we will do some live
Rub it up,
recordings that are only for Patreon.
Three nerds in a tub.
Rubber ducky. You're my
That'll be the Patreon series, Three
Yeah,
Nerds in a Tub.
that's it.
Yeah, that's gonna get people not to do our Patreon.
And also, TBJ's got her hip hop album that'll come out
Yeah,
only on
we fresh
Patreon.
out for Christmas.
Patreon,
It'll be a
yeah.
Christmas hip
A
hop.
Christmas hip hop.
Yeah.
Hallmark.
There you go.
All right.
God.
We gotta go. We gotta end this episode. Good night. Anything else?
They say I can't rap about the president no more, but evidently they don't see we in the streets still poor. Still more incarceration of my kinsmen by the prisons, and people thinking this election to end in racism. Proud over pessimism, glad to see Obama, but don't expect me not to speak out when I still see problems.
The Nerd School Podcast.
Nerd Skool is a member of the Queen City Podcast Network, powered by Ortho Carolina. Now offering video visits so you can take control of your orthopedic care from the comfort of your home. Schedule online at orthocarolina.com. Ortho Carolina, you improved.
Listen, people can make fun of me for my holiday movies all we want to, but I'm like, are you alive? Did I fuss at you today? Did I yell about anything? All right, then. You're welcome. You better thank Hallmark for keeping me safe.